Welcome back, travelers, to Legendary Lore! Where today we're going to just have an entire 10 to 15 minute story about Karn being trapped underneath a bunch of rocks.
Love it.
Yeah.
Also, I like... I straight up probably would have thrown up if that was in the mic. Welcome back, travel. Oh, it's come to Legendary Lore.
But yeah, basically Karn is trapped and he's sitting there, and I'll just read what his internal dialogue looks like. He says,
"How could this happen to me?
Was it days or weeks that had passed? What if months had flown away like a small and startled bird? What if it was longer?
Made my mistakes.
Years, decades, eons. No, he could not think of it. No one would miss him. No one knew where he had gone. He should have told someone. He should have at least told Joyra or Jaya. If he had told them, they would have known to search and either freed him or seen the Phyrexians themselves. What if the Phyrexians were the ones to find him? Would it be worse if no one found him? He might wait alone, forever in the darkness and the silence. And then he starts to hear some sand.
And Karn, what do you mean years? It's been 15 minutes. Was I saying that out loud?
And so, yeah, Karn has basically been basically having a panic attack if he could have a panic attack. And
hasn't he before?
True.
Didn't we go over in some of these time spirals that he was having a panic attack?
Yes, that is true. But yeah, his anxiety is really getting to him. He has a ton of anxiety.
Same.
And so basically what winds up happening is that Ajani finds him. Yes.
That's awesome.
Yes. And it actually describes Ajani very nicely here. It describes him as organic, not Phyrexian, gentle, thoughtful.
Huh. 4
very good descriptions.
Yeah, those all describe Ajani.
Yes.
One of them's a bit too specific. Like, I don't know if gentle was necessary. He's a, planeswalker.
I mean, I found he is usually thoughtful. But yeah, basically, Ajani is able to, dig him out. Karn gets himself the rest of the way out of it. And the two of them together, they start talking. And Karn's like, how did you find me? And basically, because he told no one he was there, Ajani tells him that Joyra had put basically a beacon on all of the letters she would send him. So that every time they moved, she would be aware of where they went next. This way she could keep track of them. The problem is, they stopped moving. Because of that, she knew that something had happened to Karn. Because Karn would just kind of look at the papers, put them aside, look at the papers, put them aside, look at the papers, put them aside, because he had terrible anxiety about it. And so Karn just suddenly feels really, really self-conscious about the fact that she was aware of every single time he considered writing her back and didn't. And so basically that happens, and it talks about how Ajani smiles at him. But the way a lion smiles isn't it's more because smiling with your teeth obviously is a sign of aggression. It's showing oh, I'm going to rip you apart.
I'm gonna wreck it.
I'm going to wreck it. I'm going to rick it. So basically, all of this happens, and Karn and Ajani, they
become best friends.
They kind of do. They kind of go back, and Karn's like, okay, this is good. This is good. I have Ajani here. Ajani's want somebody I can trust. All this stuff. Ajani then gives him a pendant and says, hey, look, you see this right here? This artifact can summon the Weatherlight. So all you have to do is activate it, and the Weatherlight will show up wherever you need it to. And Karn's like, okay, that's really helpful. Here, hold on. And he grabs it, he looks at it, and just by touching an artifact, Karn essentially can learn everything about it and recreate it. You may recall during War of the Spark, he did a similar thing to the planar beacon, when he was able to basically make glasses for everybody to be able to see who had a spark and who didn't.
Yes.
So basically what happens is that he grabs it and he just recreates it, and he gives the original back to Ajani. He's like, thanks, I can use this. And Johnny's like, that's amazing, great job, love you guys. And so this power couple, they kind of just go on, and they get what?
Nothing.
What's wrong? Man can dream. So basically, what happened? And so basically, during this whole process, while Karn was being freed by Ajani actually hurt his hand. He scratched, he tore, he cut his claw, and he's like, "Oh, buddy, you're hurt." And just it's fine, don't worry about it. We'll just we'll go back to Dominaria, and we'll meet up with everybody, and everything's gonna be just fine. And so they get there, and the plan essentially, the Karn is very urgently trying to get everyone to know about the Phyrexians, because he's been out for a few weeks, which means that the Phyrexians have had time to mobilize. And that's not even counting the sleeper agents that could be peppered throughout everything.
Phyrexabots, roll out.
Pretty much. So basically what winds up happening is that Karn bursts into this meeting that is happening between the Benelish and the Keldons. The Keldons, of course, being the red-aligned faction of humans, the Benelish being the white-aligned.
Deneth is there.
Yes. More importantly, Aaron Capuchin is there.
Yeah.
And so is Radha.
Ooh.
Yes, I'm sure. So Aaron and Radha are the two major leaders of their respective groups. And so they're having this basically a peace treaty thing they're trying to get going on. And then Karn shows up and they're like, could you just wait a few more seconds? Just wait a little bit longer and everything will be fine. We just need you to not mess this up. And you got Joda there, you got Jaya there. They're kind of like they're the ones that are orbiting this whole deal, right?
Okay.
And so while that's happening, they're so about to sign and Karn's like, this cannot wait. There are Phyrexians. Phyrexians!
Staying alive.
So yeah, basically he tells them, there's Phyrexians here. We cannot be taking this lightly. Phyrexians on Dominaria right now. It's a danger to all of us. It's bad. It's really, really bad. And Ajani's like, hey, I heard Tamio already got completed from the story circle. So yeah, the Phyrexians could be a threat here too. So this is known information. And Karn says this and they kind of look at him and they're like, not now, buddy. Which really does not help Karn's self-esteem.
Yeah, I was going to say, he was thinking about this at the beginning of last story.
And so Karn is kind of like, okay, what do I do? So he kind of just stood there and Johnny's like, just let them finish, let them do their thing. Once they sign everything, then we can talk to them and they'll all be able to work together. The Phyrexians thrive on us being separated and divided. We need to be united if we want to be able to do something, right? And Karn's like, okay, fine. And right when they're about to sign, like they literally have the pens in their hands, this blue portal opens up and Teferi steps out and is like, there are Phyrexians on Dominaria! And everybody's like, Phyrexians on Dominaria? I can't believe it. We need to do something immediately. I felt so much for Karn. I was like, oh boy. That's frustrating. So yeah, basically, the toy shows up and says something versus Teferi, this nice and flesh and blood human being. He says something, oh, we have to accept what Teferi says is true.
Oh, now the talking cheese is going to preach to us.
Yeah, pretty much. Like Karn's nothing. And he feels like nothing in this scenario. Obviously, that's not the case. They were busy. Teferi does have a higher, standing as far as
also Plains walked over to make his point as opposed to Karn walking in.
Yeah. And Teferi's the one who basically he announces Tamio's been completed, and he's like, we already knew that. And they're like, if Tamio's been completed, it's like, come on, guys, try to respect Karn a little bit more. Yeah. And so basically what winds up happening is that Karn knows that that things are pretty bad, and he knows that there could be Phyrexian sleeper agents anywhere in this area. So they say, okay, we're going to spend the night. We're just going to kind of work through things, and it's going to be fine. While this is happening, Sten, a guy from New Argive, which is the third faction, he basically approaches Karn and is like, hey, I've been sent specifically to hunt down Phyrexians. He's like, I know there are sleeper agents here, and I know that you can't be corrupted, so I can trust you. So this is my plan on this. And he starts breaking down everything for Karn. And Karn's like, that's good. And he's like, if you have anything important here, Sten tells him, if you have anything important here, I suggest that you don't let anyone know. You don't tell anyone about it unless you can be absolutely sure that they are not Phyrexians.
Ajani, you hear that? We can't tell anybody about this.
And, well, Ajani you can definitely trust because he's Ajani. So,
he's very organic.
Yes, extremely. And so Ajani is, he basically finds out that whole deal about Tamio. He's super upset thanks to Teferi, and everything is kind of just terrible. And Ajani goes to sleep. Teferi goes to sleep. Everybody goes to sleep. Karn leaves. And he goes to Shiv. And he goes to Joyra's workshop. And he puts the Silex inside of it. Inside of a little case hidden on a shelf. So that no one else knows where it is. And no one else can mess with it. And nothing bad can happen to him now. So he goes and he does that. And he goes back. And like I said, Sten's the only one that saw him. And Sten's like, okay, I can trust you. We got to figure out who else we can trust. Because we know we can't even trust the Planeswalkers now. So we got to be on the lookout. So you have Joda. You have Jaya, you have Teferi, you have Karn, you have Sten. These are the 5 people that are here that aren't Radha, Aaron Capuchin, or one of the goons. They're going to have their peace talks. They're going to finally talk about things.
Talking about peace.
Peace. I'll just read what happens.
You're great.
Let me just real quick get over
Got all
to
these
that.
reliable people here like Ajani.
So we skip over all of this. Because I just basically summarized most of this stuff. So that's why I'm just skipping it. Okay. So the whole time this has been happening, there's been a bird perched around the place. And Karn keeps looking at it thinking, that thing looks kind of weird. Because it's got a ton of eyes on it. And it's black and gooey and shadowy. And no one seems to really notice that it's there. And so, throughout the entirety of everything that's been happening, that bird has been basically watching him. And obviously we know it's a Phyrexian agent of some kind. Mm-hmm. And so, as this is happening, they finally are in this area and they're like, okay, let's talk about the Phyrexians, let's talk about our game plan. And while it's happening, the bird has just stopped acting like a bird entirely. Before it'd be like, but now it's just like,
The birds are a conspiracy.
yeah, birds aren't real. So the bird essentially is just watching Karn, and Karn's like, hold on, guys. And he just grabs the bird and crushes it in his hand, and black ooze pours out of it. And he's like, see? Phyrexian! Phyrexian! I told you! There are Phyrexians. And it's not dead. And its tendrils like fly out and it starts like clawing at his arm, trying to like stab into his metal body. And obviously it's not working, but this Phyrexian thing is insane. While that's happening, they're like, we gotta do something. We gotta make sure there aren't any other like sleeper agents. When all of Aaron Capuchin's guard, like half of the guard at least, split open and they're Phyrexian sleeper agents. And the Keldans, half of them split open and they're Phyrexian agents. It's like, what's going on? Fortunately, Radha and Aaron, they were able to agree, yeah, we're on the same page now. We're working together. So they were able to actually get the peace treaty to work out. But because of that, that's one of the reasons why the Phyrexians are now trying to ruin everything. They actually grab Aaron Capuchin and basically kidnap him. They take him away, and Ajani immediately jumps out the window after them. So Ajani's doing his own thing, saving Aaron. At the same time that's happening, you also have everything terrible happening in the actual area. And
yeah.
It's a great scene. There's like they'll kill the creatures, the Phyrexians, and the Phyrexians, when they're cut in half or whatever, they'll just regrow into 2 separate entities. And they keep splitting and splitting and splitting. And really the only thing that can stop them is Jaya. And while this is all happening, basically there's only the 5 of them that are left in there. Radha was able to escape. That was when she confirmed essentially they'll work together. She escaped with her group. Aaron is kidnapped. And so you have Jaya, Jodas, Sten, Karn, and Teferi. And the 5 of them go into Jodas' portal. They can't figure out where they want to go until the last moment where Sten's like, go to New Argive. If we go to this tower, we can lock it down and this way nothing can get out. And we'll be able to figure out if any of us are compromised there.
Uh-huh.
And so they go into the tower and only one little Phyrexian gets through. One of those little, like a little worm thing. Yeah. And it gets through and now it's in the tower with them. And it's in lockdown. They burned everything else. The Phyrexians that were in Benalia were eradicated. But now these 5 individuals are trapped in here. And at least one of them is a sleeper agent. And they don't know which one it is. And that's how the episode ends. I mean, it's pretty obvious who the sleeper agent is. Really. But still. It's pretty cool.
Thank you guys so much for watching. We're going to go ahead and catch you guys next time with some more legendary lore. Go ahead and leave a like if you like the video and subscribe to find out what happens.
Yeah.
Not going to want to miss it.